All right, let's get right into it. Today we're talking about creativity, but maybe not in the way you'd expect. We're going to build a whole new framework for how to think about it.
So I want to kick things off with a question that honestly, it goes against everything we're taught. We all think that to be creative, we need total freedom, a completely blank canvas. But what if that's completely backward? What if the real key, the secret ingredient, is actually the exact opposite?
And that leads us right into something I call the freedom paradox. It's this really counterintuitive idea that having unlimited options, the very thing we all think we want, can actually end up being a trap.
I mean, you see this everywhere, right? The more choices on the menu, the more career paths you can take, the more features on a new gadget. We just automatically assume that more options will lead to a better result. It feels super logical, but our brains, well, they don't always see it that way.
See, when you're faced with way too many options, your brain goes into something called decision fatigue. And this is a real thing. It's a psychological state where your mind gets so overloaded trying to weigh every single possibility that it just kind of gives up. It makes it almost impossible to make any choice at all.
And this is where the trap really snaps shut. When you have too much freedom, all of your resources, your time, your money, your mental energy, they just get scattered all over the place. What's actually important gets blurry, you lose all your momentum, and in the worst cases, you just end up totally paralyzed, not doing anything. Okay, so if endless freedom isn't the answer, then what is? Well, let's get into the science of it, because the solution is all about the strategic use of constraints. We're talking about setting purposeful limits that, as strange as it sounds, can actually unlock your true potential.
So, why does this actually work? It really boils down to three key things. First, constraints narrow down what they call the problem space. That just means you're not trying to solve everything at once. You've got a specific, manageable target. Second, they concentrate all your brain power on that one area. And third, they create this really cool framing effect. It shifts the question from a vague, what could I do, to a much more focused, what can I do with what I've got?
And here is the single most important takeaway. When you fence off the what, you force your brain to get incredibly inventive about the how. It's a pivot, right? You're moving from just making a choice to actually innovating. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Let's get into some powerful, real-world proof. I'm talking about legendary breakthroughs that were born from some pretty serious limitations. Just stop and think about this for a second. NASA put people on the moon with computers that had less power than the calculator on your phone. Let that sink in. That unbelievable constraint didn't stop them. It forced them to create some of the most efficient and brilliant software ever written. Or take Apple. Their whole design philosophy is built on this idea. It's all about the strategic removal of things. They take away buttons, ports, and options, and that forces them to come up with more elegant, more intuitive solutions. They don't innovate by adding more stuff. They innovate by taking it away. And for pure, raw creativity, you can't get a better example than Minecraft. The game has one simple, elegant constraint. The whole world is made of blocks. That single rule didn't limit anyone. No way. It unleashed a universe of infinite creativity, from little houses to entire sprawling cities. You even see this with some of the greatest minds in history. Think about Beethoven. He wrote some of his most incredible masterpieces after he went deaf. That profound physical constraint forced his creativity to a whole new level. And then you have someone like Warren Buffett, who has a super strict rule. He will not invest in a business he doesn't fully understand. That focus, that constraint, is his superpower.
All right, so we get the why, and we've seen the proof. The big question is, how do we actually use this in our own lives? Let's get practical and talk about how to design your own architecture for focus.
So, you basically have four main types of constraints you can put in your toolbox. There's temporal, which is just a deadline. Domain, where you narrow your field of play. Resource, where you limit what you're allowed to use. And principle, which is a hard rule about what you refuse to do. Each one of these is designed to focus your energy and make decisions way faster. And when you start using these, the benefits are huge. You get deeper focus because you're not chasing every shiny object. You develop a much greater depth of skill because you're going deep instead of wide. And you build incredible consistency because your path is guided by clear rules you set for yourself. Okay, so if you want to get started, here's a super simple 4-step way to do it. 1. Define one core theme for yourself right now. 2. Make a not-to-do list. What are 3 things you will actively stop doing? 3. Set an upper limit on a resource, like how many projects you'll take on at once. And 4, check in on these every few years. Remember, they're supposed to help you, not trap you forever.
Now, this next part is maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle, because not all constraints are good for you. There is absolutely an art to designing good constraints that actually empower you.
So what's the difference between a good constraint and a bad one? Well, it's pretty simple. Good constraints, you choose them. They're strategic, they have a purpose, and you can change them if you need to. Bad constraints are the ones other people put on you. They feel oppressive, they're usually based on fear, and they're totally rigid. The power is all in the choice.
So you see, it all comes down to a mental shift. You have to stop seeing a constraint as a handicap that's holding you back. It's not. It's a strategic device, a tool that you can design and use to push yourself forward with more clarity and more power than you ever thought was possible. So when it's all said and done, that peak productive state we're all searching for, it's not in total chaotic freedom. And it's definitely not in being locked down by excessive restrictions. It's right there in the middle. It's creativity that is structured by smart limits that you choose for yourself. So I'm going to leave you with a question to really think about. Forget about all the endless things you could do for a moment. Instead, think about focus. What is the one strategic constraint you can design for yourself, starting right now, that's going to unlock your next level?